She put my bed, and her best advice was, guess what? You're going to flunk out of school. That was it in the conversation. So this is when I developed my accountability mirror. And
this is awesome.
I look in the mirror, and at this time, I didn't want to be the black kid in school. There's like 5 or 6 of us in school, out of like 1,700 kids, something like that. And I made up a character to kind of like draw attention from color.
Okay.
And so what I did was I started to design haircuts. And one haircut I had was the old man. And I shaved my head up here just like this.
You did this?
I did this.
Okay.
And I would keep the hair on the side like an old man has. And one time I shaved my whole head and had a reverse part. So I had hair up here and they kind of zigzag. So I did things to be this cool, crazy, kind of like creative kid. You know, like crisscross came out this time.
Yep.
So I had my pants sagging but backwards. So my back pockets are here. I had a toothbrush. I was crazy, man. But I was a crazy cool kid in school. So I look in the mirror. I see this letter. I'm f***ed up. And I'm like, you know what, man? No one is coming to help me.
Yeah. I
remember back to what my principal said. 'Cause I went to the principal when they wrote that shit on my car and in my notebook. And the best advice he can give me, God help his soul, was this. They're ignorant. They spell nigger Niger.
God.
And so but honestly, I talked to the guy as I wrote my book, and I have nothing wrong with Principal Freeman. I actually interviewed him for the book, and he was happy to interview. He's a good man. What the fuck you could tell some black kid, you're a white guy in white society, we could tell me. You could shut down the fucking school and have a fucking damn. So I started talking to myself this way in this mirror. What the fuck is Principal? Because at that time, like, this is the best you can fucking do, Principal Freeman? That was my mind then, but in this mirror, it wasn't my mom, it wasn't Principal Freeman, it wasn't my dad, it was me. Because when nobody coming back to fucking help David Goggins, that was my mindset now. And so with my non-spelling ass, I started getting these sticky notes and writing, you're fucked up. And my mom wakes up like, what is wrong with you? I go, man, I have to change because I can't stay here. I can't, I looked at myself in the mirror and I was defeated. I go, look at myself. I'm like, who am I? So I'm defeated in this mirror and I'm like, okay, I'm changing. I said, Mom, can we please get a tutor? So we can only afford $15 a week for a tutor. So I have 4 hours a month. Okay. 4 hours a month. I had a 4th grade reading level, man. Wow. 4 hours a month for 6 months. That's all I had. So this tutor did one thing for me, very big. Wish I could remember her damn name. But basically, she saw that I was slow, very slow, and couldn't retain shit. And I think she was joking. She goes, you're gonna have to write down everything 1,000 times for you to remember this. I took it as okay. Literally. Roger that. Okay. So I literally went to the store and I bought these spiral notebooks. And I started literally writing down, let's say it's a math equation, the same fucking math equation over and over and over and over again. When it came to a paragraph comprehension, I couldn't read the fucking paragraph and then remember it. So we had like, I think 25 or 30 paragraph comprehension things. I had to write down the whole fucking thing, like a whole paragraph, and you don't have much time to take the test. But that's how I learned. Okay. So how I learned the Navy Dive Man, it was like 1,000 pages, Navy Dive Man. I got it a year in advance. Oh my gosh. And wrote the book out probably 14 times. Like the Boyle's Law, Child's Law, Gay-Lussac's Law, Dalton's Law, all these laws, but over and over, the whole manual. So it's not like, so now I've done it so many times, I can go back in my mind and say, okay, page 71 was Boyle's Law, and I can go back in this, and I'm looking at it right now, and I remember writing it down so many times that it takes me to say, okay, I got it. And I can write it down almost verbatim. So that's how I learned even to today. But the work ethic, people think I became this guy from running. Yeah. No, I became this guy from studying. I had to study for hours. What might take you an hour to learn, take me 2 days. Wow. So that's where, at the table. And my best friend Johnny remembers me like, God, you just changed. Something happened. I got obsessed. So I take the test, I score high, I get in the Air Force. And that's when I'm like, man, I'm gonna be a pararescueman. And this is when I realized, man, I teach myself how to swim. I taught myself how to swim, but this is when I realized, man, that I'm negative buoyant as hell. And there's a lot of things. So what gets people in special operations is the water. Not swimming, but the water confidence. When they're like taking your air from you and you're underwater panic. I realized I was very uncomfortable. So long story short, I was there for 6 weeks. I was moving on pretty well. I was second in my class. And I was getting through all the water confidence, but barely. But I wanted to quit every fucking night. I didn't go to sleep every night. Just paranoid of the next day of getting back in that pool. So 6 months go by, we had this medical examination and they draw my blood and they said, you have sickle cell. Sickle cell is a blood disease that some African Americans have. Basically, you know, if something happens under stressful situations, stroke, heart attack, sudden death. This happened to a few African Americans in the military. So they pulled me from training saying, you can't do this job. And when you live a very stressed out life, like I was living, that's your norm. So not sleeping, being scared, that was my norm. I wasn't gonna quit. But when they pull you out of training, and now I'm fucking comfortable.
I agree with you.
So now I'm seeing my class of 24 guys, it was like 150, now it's 24 guys, and they're in the pool and I'm on the side of the pool, I'm not in the water now, I'm seeing what I was doing. I'm seeing these guys struggling, panicking in the water, like wanting to quit. I'm like, fuck that.
Wow.
I'm not going. So now I'm comfortable. And I'm able to see now I'm not going back. So now my big dream of being a pararescueman, I'm now seeing that do this. I'm like, I want to get out of the Air Force.
Wow.
I don't even want to be in the military. So this is what I'm saying. So I'm hoping now that this sickle cell thing is going to get me kicked out of the military. Because I'm like, okay, I don't want to go back in the, I'm done. So I'm like getting happy because now I'm like, I won't quit. They're going to medically drop me from the course. This is great. I can keep my head up. I learned how to read, I learned how to write, I passed the ASVAB test, but I'm fixing everything on the surface. I'm not going into the fucking dungeon. So the doc calls up, I go back to the doctor's, I'm like skipping down there thinking, I'm getting out of here, man. Medically discharged. He goes, man, you know what? You were doing good in your class and we don't know how you got this far with this, whatever, so guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna put you back in the training. I'm like, so, but I'm thinking now, I only have about a couple, 2.5 weeks left of training, because I missed a week and some change. I'll go, you know what, great, man. I have to suck this up, man. I can do this. So I'm trying to motivate myself on the way back to my CEO, my command officer, Sergeant Lundberg. I get to Sergeant Lundberg. Sergeant Lundberg looks at me and says, Goggins, man, that's great. You're back in the training. You got to start from day one. Because I'm at critical parts of training. I can't miss that many days. And I'm like, but I was a great liar. And I wouldn't look at a hardcore man and tell him that I just quit. So I looked at him and said, hey, you know what, Sergeant, man, this sickle cell thing, man, the doc was talking about sudden death, stroke, heart attack. I didn't give a about sickle cell, but I didn't know anything about it. I knew I was struggling. I knew I had some health issues, but I just thought because I was killing myself at what I was doing. And he said, you know what, you're right, man. I wouldn't want to do that either. So he gave me a medical out of pararescue. And he said, when we figure this out more, we'll have you come back. I wasn't ever going back. I'm like, I'm never getting back in the water again, but I was able to leave on a medical. But I quit.
You quit. Why do you admit it? Why do you tell this story?
I have to. Because everybody thinks I'm the world's toughest motherfucker ever lived. And I might be somewhere about that now, but that's where I was. And I tell the story because if I just talk about, I broke the pull-up record, I did all these races, I went through SEAL training, I was in 3 hell weeks, Ranger school. If I talk about all the badassery, like we like to do on social media, and I don't tell you that I was a fucked up kid, and I was scared as shit, and I was depressed and insecure, and all this shit, what good am I for anybody? Right. I'm a superhero, but I'm a liar. I'm that now, but I wasn't born that. I had to make myself into this shit.